I've always said, since I've been traveling around the world, if I had my own ways, I would never leave this place. I'd stay here all the time. Each hunting area, each place where you catch fish is different. And each one has a special meaning. Our way of life is sacred to us. It means our identity.
That's Jimmy Ullikatalik, manager of the Taloyoak Hunters and Trappers Association in Nunavut, and a leading advocate for the creation of the Aviqtuuq Inuit-protected and conserved area, 90,000 square kilometers of marine, terrestrial, and freshwater ecosystems in Nunavut. He's also represented Nunavut at the UN Climate Change Conference recently in Glasgow. He's our guest on this episode of Explore, a Canadian Geographic podcast. In October, I was very lucky to make my second trip to Nunavut, to the hamlet of Taloyoak. It is the most northerly community in mainland Canada. About 1,000 people, very welcoming, on the Aviqtuuq or Boothia Peninsula, jutting into the Arctic Ocean and Northwest Passage. It's situated on Spence Bay, rows and rows of brightly colored 1- and 2-story homes, surrounded by a lovely, rolling, rocky landscape. I was there with my CanGeo colleague, Tom Lundy, for a week-long podcasting training session with Inuit youth at the Netsilik school, supported by Canadian Geographic and Polar Knowledge Canada. The amazing throat singers you hear right now, Martha and Joyce, were part of that class. We'll hear their story and others from the class, including Jimmy's grandson, Roger, in the new year. Today, we focus on Jimmy, who is a truly remarkable person. The Aviqtuuq Peninsula that he's pushing to make into an Inuit-run conservation zone would be the first of its kind anywhere in the world. It's already being patrolled by locals from the community in the newly federally funded Land Guardians program. The wildlife population here on the Aviqtuuq Peninsula remains strong and healthy, with caribou, muskox, polar bear, fox, seal, whales, fish, migratory birds, and more. And that in part is because the elders here in this community stood up to block a planned oil pipeline through the peninsula back in 1972. In a place where hunting is a major part of what people eat on a daily basis and a means of maintaining physical and mental health, that victory is important. Jimmy's hope is to lock that victory into place for generations to come. So I want to start with here in Taloyoak. Can you first of all just, tell us about this community and, what the history of it and the Inuit community here?
Hudson Bay Post was traveling this way to get some fox fur and stuff like that. They were working with local people from Taloyoak. And they end up in Fort Ross, and they got a post there. The Hudson Bay got a post there, and for two summers, they weren't able to resupply the Hudson Bay in Fort Ross.
Oh, because the bay was frozen?
Yeah, the bay was frozen. Or there was too much ice to get to Fort Ross in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So the Hudson Bay got turned order, and when the local person that was working for Hudson Bay, Mark Caldwell, he was asked to find someone from this area. So he got a person named Uhullik. So they got together and they started flying around this area. And Uhullik said to Caldwell that Taloyoak is a nice place to settle there because there's always going to be caribou.
Right.
But the story behind those two men they're both my great-grandparents.
Oh, no way.
Yes, because my Caldwell is my mom's grandfather, because when they moved here, that's when they settled here, and then my old man, he's from this area, and that's Uhullik's grandfather.
Right.
So together they made Taloyoak put on a map for me to reside in.
They're the founding fathers. Yeah, that's amazing. So this would have been a place where when the Inuit were nomadic, they would have come here regularly because of the caribou, I guess.
Yes, this place was called, it was not Taloyoak at first in the beginning. The reason why they call it Taloyoak is because of the caribou blinds.
Mm-hmm.
The caribou blinds are caribou weirs. They are sort of made like what we know as a buffalo jump. But the caribous are driven into these weirs,
mm-hmm.
and they have hunters in the end to spear them or catch them with a bow and arrow.
Yeah. So they force them into a narrow sort of gap.
They're pile rocks.
Yeah.
Like weirs.
Yeah.
There's so many weirs in this area.
Yeah.
But each weir is called Taloyoak, because there's so many Taloyoak. They call it Taloyoak, meaning lots of Taloyoaks.
Lots of caribou blinds is what the town name is.
Yeah, that's why it's called Taloyoak.
Yeah, well, that makes more sense than Spence Bay, I think, doesn't it? Well, that's fantastic. So you grew up here. You lived your whole life.
Yeah, I was born and raised here.
Yeah.
I went to school here and just lived here all my life, yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me, I mean, I've heard you describe this place as the friendliest community in Nunavut. And what is it about this community that you like?
They're very nice people here. Once we have like an emergency or something has to be done, the community pulls together and helps the family that in need, and like airfare or whatnot to go see other families in like other communities. So that makes it very special. I think they always welcome. The people are always welcoming to friendly faces and stuff like that. So. That's why I think it's pretty friendly. Yeah.
And you're head of what's the Hunters and Trappers Association for this area. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I haven't got out on the land really yet, but from what I understand, you're very lucky to be in this area because it's very rich with wildlife, isn't it?
Yeah. Back in 1972, there was a proposed pipeline from Little Cornwallis Island right to Aviqtuuq down to Baker Lake to Alberta.
Wow.
But the members back then, the elders, without any government consultation or anything like that, they met together in their homes, in their private homes, in the evenings, finding tactical ways to stop the pipeline.
Wow.
Because of that, because they know the wildlife, on paper, Aviqtuuq looks big, but the member says, it's too small, but very important for the calving area. It's too small for any other activities, and it's going to ruin the ecosystem for the environment and the people. That's why they didn't want any pipeline going through.
So, I mean, 1972, that was a very different time, and I think much harder to fight the government back then than it is possibly today. How were they successful? Like, what was the secret to that success?
They were very adamant about not disturbing the land.
Yeah.
Like I said, because, it looks big on paper, but it's very narrow, but there's so much migratory birds, all kinds of species like caribou, muskrat, polar bear dens, wolves. Every species is here to give offspring, and therefore they didn't want to disturb that ecosystem. Therefore, from there, we feel we have the privilege to protect Aviqtuuq today in honor of those people back in 1972.
Yeah. Yeah, because what we know now, I mean, we've seen collapse of caribou herds in other parts of Canada, haven't we? And it's often because of mineral exploration. It doesn't take much to really upset them as an animal.
Yeah, we looked at the whole of Canada, the whole of world, of what mining does to environment. And we hear stories of our cousins down south where their environment is some places you can't able to drink the water anymore. It's so contaminated with stuff. So that when we hear things like that, and we know in Inuit-Taluk and the west of us, they need takes today to hunt caribou, because we don't want that to happen for our caribou. A caribou is quite healthy at this time and point, and we want to keep it that way. And therefore, that's why we want this protected area so that caribou and other species could roam freely and continue to exist on Aviqtuuq.
Right, Aviqtuuq. So yeah, Aviqtuuq is, as you say, it's this protected area, 90,000 square kilometers. It's a massive area. So it's basically this entire peninsula that we're on, and the ocean and the rivers and lakes and everything in it. Yeah.
Yeah, we have 6 major rivers that are all around Aviqtuuq that have char-running rivers, and many other little ones here and there. But those 6 major rivers have char-running. A few years ago, there was a report on polar bear and Canada having the most cleanest polar bears in the world. Because of that, we want to continue to keep it like that. We want to continue to have the best polar bears, and therefore that's how we want to protect Aviqtuuq. If we keep the environment clean, the planktons are clean, the fish are eating the good planktons, and the seals are eating the good
fish,
and then polar bears eating the good seals, and us we're on top of the line. So therefore, because we're not farmers, we cannot farm anything. Therefore, we want to protect Aviqtuuq because that's our livestock, and we want to continue for them to be contaminant free.
Yeah. So Aviqtuuq, and the idea is then you guys will manage it. This will be an Inuit conservation area. Like you'll be responsible for making sure everything is managed properly, and it's not something the federal government will be that involved with, or how does that work?
No, we're still working on the details, but yes, that's what we're planning on being. We're the first Inuit-led conservation area in the world. So therefore, we know the land. We grew up on this land. We know the seasons. We know the migrations. We know the route. Because of that, we want to manage the land because we know the land more than anyone in the world.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are already involved in the Land Guardians program up here, is that right?
Yes, they're the eyes and ears for our project. They go out on tasks. They have a weekly plan, do different things to monitor. We have trail camps to monitor caribou. They go sampling the ocean, sampling the lakes, and they also sample animals they catch to bring back to the community to share to the elders or single parents or people with low income. So since we had the Guardians program and all this is happening, since they bring back game for the communities, they're being referred to as the guardian angels.
Yeah, guardian angels. Nice. It's a nice twist. Yeah. So they're all from this community or local communities.
They're all from here. They're all local people, and they know the land. To this day, they still thank us for the job they have because we know the land. We would like to go out on the land, and to be paid to go out on the land is a dream come true.
Yeah. No, and it makes so much more sense to have someone who knows the actual what the land is here, isn't it? Than flying someone like me up south from up south. And I also wanted to ask you about the country food plant. Niqihaqut, how do you say that?
Yeah, Niqihaqut means prepared food for us.
Yeah.
Or Niqihaqut is a culinary facility we want to open in our community.
Yeah.
Because even though we're Inuit, we don't have access to country food for example, there's ground meat, steaks, filleted fish, stuff like that, but they're not our natural diet. They're processed food that come from down south, and we have no choice but to buy them because we don't have a cut and wrap facility in our community.
Yeah, and it's crazy expensive, I'll say, going into the stores here. It's
and whatever they have on country food in the stores, it costs arm and a leg. And therefore, we won an Arctic Inspiration Prize 2020 on our cut and wrap facility. When they asked why we think we should get that prize on our cut and wrap facility, and my answer was because it's common sense to every community in Nunavut. In Nunavut, communities have a cut and wrap facility. They have more access to country food, and then when they have access to country food, they'll be more healthy because that's their natural diet. We have a lot of people getting diabetes today because not having access to country food to eat and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Food from the land, I think it's been pretty well proven that it's much healthier for you.
Yeah, it hasn't been processed. So, that's what's given to us right from birth. And that's what we know right from birth. So that's what like I said, it's our natural food. So when we eat it more, we'll be more healthy and more active.
Yeah, yeah. And so is that still in the plans, though?
Yes, we're still working on that. Like again, everything was delayed, but because of COVID. So everything's still kind of delayed, but we have more ideas on what we want in the Kadamna facility, just in terms of coming up with funds and getting the Kadamna facility here, hopefully in the fall time next year.
Huh, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, congratulations. I know you've done some climate change campaigning as well in the last few years as well. As if you weren't busy enough with all of this other stuff, you were over in Glasgow at the climate change conference there a few years ago.
Yes, have a little story on that.
Let's hear it.
I was invited to go to COP26 in Glasgow. It took me 4 days to leave Taloyoak to try and go to Glasgow because of climate change.
Oh no! In what way?
That year it was foggy. Like it was in October. It was so warm that year. It never freezed up for a long time. When I was growing up, usually it was frozen and we could skate on the ponds in like September 22, stuff like that. But when I was going to Glasgow, October, the plane kept flying over, and I couldn't go down the plane because of climate, and I'm trying to go for a climate change conference. So it was kind of ironic in a way. So
yeah,
stuff like that. But it was very neat experience going to Glasgow and looking at. I've only seen stuff on TV, so seeing it live and being outside of Canada, it was so unreal. It was a great experience. We had some good talks. The audience listened very well, and I also had some good feedback on all the talks I had on climate change and Netsilik and Aviqtuuq project.
Because it's affecting you up here more than anywhere else on the planet, right?
Yeah, it's been very noticeable the last 10 years, very much. Even younger people notice that the climate has been different for the last 10 years. It could be very hot or very cold. This different kind of prediction we know now because we've always predict how it's going to be. Because we know the land, we know the environment, but the last 10 years it's been kind of a little bit different, the predictions of what's going to happen next. So this kind of things were challenging.
What are you seeing in terms of wildlife? How is that affecting the wildlife around here?
The only thing that we have problem is pretty much overpopulated muskox.
Oh, too many.
Yeah, on Aviqtuuq. And the reason for that is the caribou and the muskox can coexist on area. Mm-hmm. So the muskox usually drive the caribou away, and that's kind of disturbing the migration route for the caribou to fully migrate north and then back south. So these are some of the challenges that we face on our caribou production.
Yeah. So caribou is really the base of sort of the food economy here,
yes.
Isn't it? Absolutely.
Well, yes, the caribou is what we grew up on. It's always been the source of vitamins, the zinc, all that what is to make your body more efficient, to more that's what caribou gives us more. So that's been our the main. There was hardly any muskox on Aviqtuuq. There's always been muskox in Prince of Wales, stuff like that, or Somerset. We know, but caribou has always been the main animal that roam on Aviqtuuq, and that's what we eat and know. So that's what the community would like to continue to protect the caribou for.
Mm-hmm. We're in caribou season now, is that right?
Yeah. So I think the way I hear the hunters, they might all be pretty much migrating south, by pretty close to all the
pretty
caribou.
much all gone. So is that? I mean, is being out on the land? I know you've got this job in this office here in town, but are you out on the land on weekends a lot, or how much are you out there?
Oh, I haven't been out on the land for like maybe 10 years.
Oh no!
Like my children are all grown up, so they go out, do all the hunting.
They do all.
Yeah, I have a cabin in Middle Lake. That's where I go, hang out on the weekends, stuff like that. But other than hunting, I leave it to my boys.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you trained them well, obviously.
I just pass on what I learned from my dad.
Yeah. So tell me about those first hunts with your father. When you were how old were you when you were going out? Like 8, 9, 10 sort of thing? Would that be?
Yeah, those days. I remember those days being, well, not really hunting with my dad, but being a part of camp and helping out whatever I can, fishing, stuff like that. It's pretty seemed like natural. The first time I ever caught caribou was might have been 10 or so, but we had to go quite a ways north from Taloyoak. In those days, we had to overnight in 2 places in order to reach the caribou. When I shot the caribou, that was the best feeling ever.
Tell me about that.
It was a bow caribou. My old man, he got pretty close to the caribou. He set up the gun. He told me to aim, stuff like that. So I did try to follow his instructions, and I pulled the trigger and got the caribou. So I was pretty happy about that.
Nice, one shot.
Yeah, one shot. I was pretty lucky. I got lucky. I almost missed, but I got him enough. So my old man, he didn't really run away. He just sort of moved off to his head. But my old man made sure he was down after that. But I got the first shot, so that was my first caribou.
Yeah. And have you hunted polar bear as well up here?
Yeah, I've caught one polar bear in my life. I can't remember. I must have been 17, 18, 19, somewhere in there. I went out with my uncle down that way on Makantak area.
Those are a big, dangerous animal, though.
Yeah, I remember catching that polar bear. It was cold that winter, but when we spotted the caribou, seemed to be no more chills. Excited, too much adrenaline drive, I guess. But that was a great time.
Yeah. What's it? I mean, they're very smart animals, aren't they? They're hard to track and hard to.
Yeah, they're pretty hard to track. They're all the animals they could hear, like the snowmobiles from far distance, so they know something's coming. So they're always prepared to run away and stuff like that. So. The hunters they've been hunting here, for generations. So once they could notice a track fresh, then pretty much sometimes, that be able to catch up to the game.
So just going back to looking at your family's past, were your parents, were they nomadic at one point, or how far back do you go?
Yeah, my old man, he was pretty nomadic. He moved, he was adopted out when he was newborn, but his adopted parents had passed away before he was old enough to take care of himself. So he kind of moved from family to family in this area, but he ended up with his natural parents in the end. So he grew up in this area with my grandfather and my grandmother. But my mom, she was with the Nescoby, the Hudson Bay. So she didn't really. She grew up around this area as well, pretty much. I don't know. We didn't really talk about her childhood when I was growing up, but she talked about this area a lot.
She was here, yeah. She was more in one place, yeah. So I know we're doing this podcasting class that we're teaching at this Netsilik, the school, and I know your grandson Roger is part of that class, and he's been talking to us about hunting as well. And clearly, it's a very important part of his life, and it seems like it's an important part of your son's lives. And I'm just wondering, as Inuit, as an Inuk, how important that connection to the land is in terms of maintaining culture, maintaining who you are.
Being out on the land, you're one with the environment. You know, like in town here, it's okay, but sometimes, you know, for some reason it's different being in a house in a building versus being out on the land in a tent. You're more close to the ground. You're more close to the air. You breathe the natural air, stuff like that. Like I said, we're hunters and gatherers. That's what we know. We like to hunt the game, the wildlife that is here. Like I said, we're not farmers, so therefore our way of life is sacred to us. It means our identity. Being part of the world, we are different from, and therefore we feel we're part of this world.
Yeah. And that makes Aviqtuuq, I mean, it goes back to that. Like, that's why that's so important for you, because that's more important than having some lithium mine or like an oil production
Yeah, again, we're not farmers, so we need the environment to be clean, the wildlife to be clean, because that's what we consume. And we don't want any contamination on any of the wildlife and the environment. We're not against mining, personally. We just don't want mining on Aviqtuuq. We cannot tell the mining company don't mine anywhere. We just don't want mining on Aviqtuuq. Mining, we don't want it to be the first resort. We want it to be the last resort. That's our philosophy on mining.
Yeah. And if you had a message to people, I mean, there'll be a lot of people living in southern Canada to this podcast. What would your message be about what this place is and what it means to you?
We're proud Canadians. We're proud to be Canadians. We love Canada. We love what goes on, hockey, stuff like that. It's very important as Canadians to be proud that way. We want to contribute to Canada, a place where it's never been disturbed. That's how important Aviqtuuq is to us.
Yeah, it's an incredible gift for the rest of this country, for sure. And one last question before I let you go is I ask everybody this, and ask, what's your favorite place in Canada? And it might be up around here somewhere. Maybe it's your cabin in Middle Lake, or what's your favorite spot?
There's so many places.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to pick one, Jimmy, though.
I've always said, since I've been traveling around the world, if I had my own ways, I would never leave this place. I'd stay here all the time. Each hunting area, each place where you catch fish is different. And each one has a special meaning. It might be where you first catch a game, or where your grandfather or grandmother taught you where, how is that place, why that place, stuff like that. There's so many, I don't think I can pick one.
Yeah. Can you describe your cabin at Middle Lake?
My cabin, well, I have a cabin, my parents and I, we grew up on Middle Lake. That was your home. That's where we go catch landlocked char and trout to dry for the winter.
Yeah,
that's our main camp to do that, as well as other easier access to go caribou hunting and stuff like that. That's each person that has a cabin is like their main camp to do other things so that they could dry meat or fish in that camp. And my cabin is, I built it there because my dad built a cabin there, and we grew up in that area. So therefore, my son Roger has a cabin there now. He just built it this summer. He's still working on it, but we like to be there as much as we can to continue to unite with nature.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were talking about catching fish, you had your hands about 2 feet apart, but I've seen pictures of fish from up there that are like 4 or 5 feet, like 30 pounds.
Like I said, Mill Lake, we dry the fish. They're maybe 2 feet. Some of them are smaller, but those are the right size for drying, and they don't get moldy because they don't have enough. Like they're not so fatty.
Oh, okay.
So they dry quickly and they store better. Like the big fish, we know where to catch them. We catch them, but we try and consume them as quickly as possible before they go bad. But they're so rich and they're so fatty, and sometimes they go bad right away.
Yeah.
So there's different season or different areas for every size fish.
Yeah.
In
Goes back to your point. These are 2 foot and they're like char and they're lake trout, and what are they?
Yeah, there's we have lake trout, landlocked char, whitefish, and on the ocean tomcod.
Yeah.
And slurpins.
Yeah. And so then you're sun dry them on racks? Is it sun dry or you?
Yeah, sun dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do sun dry.
Nice.
On the caribou during the spring and summertime. But lately, with modern stuff, people have dehydrators now.
So they're cheating.
Yeah, so they just go home and do dehydration.
Well, listen, thank you so much for all your time, and we feel very lucky to have been so warmly invited into this community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought this was going to be another regular interview, but I don't know, my heart is kind of beating for some reason.
That's lovely. Well, that's such an honor. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. And thank you all for listening. Can I ask for a favor as well? So if you like this podcast, can you tell one other person you know about it? You can do that in person, by email. You can even do it on social media, however you like. We'd love to get these conversations to as wide an audience as possible, and this is really just the best way to do it. So thank you in advance for any help you can give that way. I also want to send out a big thanks as well to longtime Explore listener, Graham Adlam. He sent in a picture of himself listening in the car on the way home from a night shift to the Explore podcast. Eyes on the road, please, Graham. We definitely prefer it if you pull over to take your picture of where you're listening to Explore, but please do send in your photos to us. Our email is explore@canadiangeographic.ca. You can also tag us on Instagram @CanGeo and @David.McGuffin. Please use the hashtag ExplorePodcast. So, until next time, when we'll explore again, I'm David McGuffin.
I think right now we're enjoying very much looking back at the Earth, and it's just a fantastic experience, and I just can't wait to get back and start telling people.
We left Simpson about June the 10th with the fur brigade, consisting of a number of yacht boats, each manned by 10 voyageurs.
For us Inuit, it means that Inuit oral history is very strong.
And we flew low over every inch of the country that could be. We were hoping that he would fire at us.
Oh, I guess 160 dives or so. There are shrimp, fish swimming around outside. It's just fabulous here.
Well, I'm a first for Canada.